Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. Today is April 20th, 2023. And the big headline of the day that we're super excited about is that Alexei Tornado Cash Pertsev is free to go home on Wednesday, the 26th, where he will await his trial at home with electronic monitoring. This was reported by Eleanor Blanc from ETH. I'm not actually sure where she's from. She's the crypto educator and founder of Crypto Canal, and she's organizing ETH Dam, which is maybe somewhere in Amsterdam. Oh, it's Amsterdam. Okay, so that is great news, though.
Yeah, I think it look, at the end of the day, like we're all people taking a ton of risk to like join this industry, and I think that like this specific case was the canary in the coal mine, like was the worst thing that could happen to any one of us, and it like actually happened to one of us. And so just on a human level, I think like we should all rejoice, all like just be happy that that he's out. But we're not out of the woods of the industry. The fact that this happened is terrifying, and like celebrate the man, but like we still need to fight for what happened and what can happen.
Yeah, very excited to see that. You know what I'm very excited about as the resident Frax guy here is the Frax USDP Basepool launching on Curve very silently in a very Frax sort of way. Sam posting a screenshot, letting some details leak in the Frax chat, and then just watching where things go from there. This is actually a really big deal because
as the resident Curve guy, I'm pretty excited too, I gotta say.
Yeah, new Basepool. Basepool.
Actually, news of it leaked about 2 weeks ago in the excellent curve.substack.com newsletter. The handsome host of that newsletter was peering on chain and noticed that a new Basepool had been added because the author happens to be like paying relentless attention to the deployer addresses in case a certain stablecoin launches. So mentioned it in passing a few weeks ago. It's kind of just been sitting there. Also, the Vodium round of the most recent like burbs. There was some pretty heavy incentives going towards that USDP Frax Basepool. So if you're a yield farmer on Thursdays, a lot of new, incentives went live just last night. So if you're sniping yield, you can do pretty good for yourself.
Yes, they did. All of the WETH replacement Frax ETH gauges went live the other day, and this is also pretty big because if the proposal to circle is a guide for anything that's coming ahead, Frax potentially now is going to have access to a off-chain interest source by converting their by pairing up against USDP.
Yeah, it's also kind of. Oh, go ahead, hey, Rex.
No. I just wanted to dig in a little bit more into what you were saying, what Sam, you just said there. I guess what does that mean that they are going to get a new interest source by pairing with USDP?
Well, I believe the Maker Paxos deal, which did not, I don't think it went through, but Paxos came to Maker and essentially said, hey, we want you to swap significant amounts of your DAI collateral that's in USDC right now into USDP. And for that, we will use our interest income to pay straight to the DAO treasury on a monthly basis, depending on the like average TVL over the entire period. So the more USDP that's minted means the more treasuries that Paxos is able to go out and buy. And they essentially cut a deal with the DAO protocols saying that help us help you by growing our TVL.
Interesting. So what you're saying is that based on the Maker proposal that didn't go through, you're expecting Frax to get like a similar sort of deal?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. And I guess for both of you, my biggest kind of my first thought is like, okay, what another Basepool is like splitting liquidity and increasing the amount of bribing you need to do. Do either of you see this as like, while important for diversification, also a challenge in terms of like the economics of what Frax is doing?
No, not at all, especially in the wake of the USDC depeg. If we had another large pool that we could have arbed against, potentially the the protocol could have made money on it and had less of a drop in the peg during that time period.
Yeah, I guess I'm I'm getting concerned on how many pools Frax needs to bribe, right? And the community wallet, which these bribes are coming for, like we've got like a year left of bribes left at this rate. And so like that's what my first thought when we add more more like pools is like, okay, this is just another strain on that limited resource.
Well, what if it represents a transit? I know Sam said it's not, but potentially it's a transition away from USDC to USDP for the longer time period. Because if USDP is going to offer, so what USDP offered, what Paxos offered Maker was a daily marketing fee anchored to 45% of the effective federal funds rate, which stood at 4.3%. I think it's a little bit higher at the moment right now. And they would pay that up to a debt ceiling of 1.5 billion or higher. So with a maximum threshold of 2 billion. So for Frax, if they were able to, say get $1 billion worth of USDP created and put into Curve, that would mean about $20 million in revenue for them yearly. It's a sizable amount of money for Frax if they can bring in significant TVL to Paxos, where with USDC they get nothing, and they also
they got nothing for regulatory reasons though. I thought like the reason Circle doesn't pay out is because then it would be a security, or maybe no,
not at all. Well, why can't they pay the DAO?
Again, I thought that was like a specific choice Circle had made to make sure that stablecoin is treated like a stablecoin and not like a security.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons that economists have long held that these type of stablecoins, where Circle keeps all of the interest income, are just substandard, right? Because somebody at some time forward is going to come up with a stablecoin arrangement where DAOs are going to get paid on the interest income that Circle's just making hand over fist now, with interest rates being higher than they were.
I think Circle would agree with you. I think the problem is they like, if this is a regulatory problem, they would love to give that cash to DAOs. They just can't, or because they're worried about being shut down, right? I don't know. I need to dig deeper into why Circle's not doing that. But I know there's been lots of conversations about Circle passing along their treasury revenue onto DAOs, and that they have not done that purposely.
That is true. So moving on to our next story, Yearn wants all the Wi-Fi A users to remove their collateral, or they're going to be forced liquidated. The collateralization ratio today, this is actually today, that it's going to go to 10,000%, and everyone will be liquidated. And so anybody who has Wi-Fi in Maker, in the Wi-Fi A Maker pool, should take their money out as soon as possible.
What is this? Why is this happening?
So Maker is deciding to shut down a few pools. This is the Link, Matic, Wi-Fi, and UniV2 USDC ETH pools. And I believe this is just because they were not being used, and the amount of upkeep that they were taking was not sufficient to pay for the amount of time that was going into it. So they are shutting them down.
Yeah, I feel like the takeaway, whether you're in this pool or not, is that there's no such thing as passive liquidity farming in DeFi. If you are in any of these pools, you can't just dump your money in, come back a year later and expect that you're getting yield. You really have to be managing these things, because in this case, you might have had been liquidated in 24 hours. So that can be pretty brutal if you happen to take a day off.
Well, I think it just depends on the protocol that you're using as well, too. I mean, there's other protocols which don't have the ability to turn off the pools, right? That you don't have to use, and Maker is one of them that has that ability. So another big story in light of all the policy drama going on this week has been Coinbase finally got a Bermuda license and is planning to launch an offshore derivative exchange to compete with the likes of Binance and OKX as soon as next week.
I mean, cool. Great for Coinbase equity holders, and great for Coinbase. But the reality is going to, for us American users, it's going to be the same thing, which is we're not going to have access to it. So good for the industry, good for Coinbase equity holders, but just not particularly relevant to me.
Yeah, well, the kind of drama around all this is that in the last week, Brian Armstrong has made comments saying that the regulatory environment inside the United States is quite bad at the moment, and that if it gets worse, they may have to exit and go somewhere else. So he's talked about the United Kingdom. They just got this Bermuda license. And, while I don't see a publicly listed American company fully exiting the United States, maybe they will wind down the operations only to the point where you can buy Bitcoin, Ether. Well, maybe not even Ether. You're just Bitcoin and USDC, and that's all. That would be the doomsday scenario, but nobody wants that. By that time, we'll have a new administration in.
I don't know if you all got a chance to watch the stablecoin hearing from yesterday, but it was actually fairly positive in my view. Of course, they were talking a lot about the innovation fleeing offshore. So it seems that the people are really cognizant of this. And the tone coming from the stablecoin hearing yesterday was very much, let's get this right. We're close. We might have a few rough edges to iron out. But there's I came away from it thinking that there's some hope on the horizon that the United States might get this right.
Potentially. I think if you listen to Maxine Waters' statement right before everything kicked off, she was like, this bill is the Republican bill, and it in no way represents what has been negotiated upon by the Democrats. And so while the chair has decided to release this draft bill, it is not in any way representative of a final bill that's going up to vote. So there is a lot more negotiating that has to go around with it. I think that McHenry just wanted to put it out there so that people could understand kind of the frame of reference that they're putting in. And it'll be interesting to see where the Democrats come back to provide more clarity on their position. And speaking of regulatory clarity, the EU Parliament has passed crypto licensing law MiCA 51738.
Yeah, I mean, I as a non-European, I don't know too much about the specifics of the rules. I know that the headlines are not great. That things around being limited on exchanging money if it's in the 4-figure range. I mean, really things that are not parallel to the ethos of our industry. But no matter how restrictive these laws are, personally, I see this as a bullish sign. Because in order to get to a point where we're, an integrated industry that's moving forward with the rest of the economy, we need to be regulated. We need to have rules. That is the sign of mature businesses and banks and pension funds being able to participate. And the funny thing about all of these regulations, whether the European ones or the American ones that are being talked about, is the reason why we're all in crypto and we believe in this is because half of the bullshit regulations that they're trying to put out there just aren't possible. That's the nature of the technology. They can say you can't transfer more than $1,000, but the three of us can come up with 35 different ways to do that in the next 5 minutes without even breaking a sweat, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah, the funny thing, watching the crypto for so long is no matter what nations try and do, crypto keeps going, right? It's a freight train that can't be stopped. So you can either harm your own citizens or you can give your own citizens access to it, but you're not slowing down crypto.
Ethereum is inevitable.
Inevitable. Exactly. Actually, hey, while we're at it, Garrett, can you pull up the Curve pools page and we can take a live look at the FRAXUSDP pools? Because I think we should take a look at it. We'll go on to the next story, then we'll come back to that in a second. In other news, Voyager's $1 billion deal with Binance is finally moving forward after the Fed's doing everything possible to try to shut this down. This has been a long and drawn-out process where the government has tried to pull every single stop that it has to ensure that Binance was not able to buy Voyager in this deal, which is beneficial to the people who are suffering in bankruptcy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to get some resolution to this. I am not. Do you know why the U.S. government was trying to block it? Was this really just about anti-Binance stuff, or?
Oh yes, lots of anti-Binance stuff. So, from the article, U.S. regulators have made several attempts to halt the deal, since it was granted approval to proceed on March 7th by the U.S. bankruptcy judge. So a week later, the government requested to delay the bankruptcy 2 weeks because the bankruptcy plan was immunizing fraud, theft, or tax avoidance. That motion was denied, who said the accusations were exaggerated, mischaracterizing. And another court filing revealed that 97% of the 61,000 Voyager account holders were in favor of the deal with Binance US.
I mean, of course, they're going to be in favor that it's either get paid out or not get paid out, right? But
exactly.
I think that, look, resolution is good, and it probably sounds like there is some just like prejudice and racism against like having Binance buy this, and so that's bad. I cannot help but think of like what FTX buying all of these bankrupt entities meant before, which was like, holy shit, our fraud is going to get caught if these things need to unwind. And so like, I think like all of this, it's just like worth it to step away from this stuff. But again, it's good that we're moving forward.
Well, let's not bring up the R word here. I would have to say that the feds are probably more sour on Binance for the $8 billion worth of funds that they laundered for Iran. And another,
there's a lot of reasons not to like Binance.
So what I doubt that CZ is a CCP stooge, but you know, what? I don't think that. But I do think that their AML practices have probably taken the ire of the United States government, and especially the Iran thing has been a very souring event for them, and they've yet to settle that as well too. So I think that this was just like the U.S. government trying to keep Binance from having another win, and expanding its circle of crypto domination. So let's pull up that tasty curve. Wow, look at that. Look at that. So just to run through some of these for people that are listening to the podcast. If you have AlETH, which is Alchemix ETH, 4,000% right now. If you full boost. Anchor ETH, 2.6K%. Wow, these are great.
Look at these TVLs though.
Yeah,
I understand. Look, you know what?
Talk to your financial advisor, not financial advice.
But you're not locked in here. Honestly, you're not locked in here. And you can full boost this or put your funds into Convex as well too. Convex has already created all of these pools, and so if you don't have any CRV, you can just deposit into Convex and take advantage of the short term where you will be making bonkers APY on whatever your deposits are. Maybe it will cover the gas fees.
That's pretty exciting to see. I mean, I think obviously Sam understands how to build a stable coin. He sees Frax ETH as an ETH stable coin, and he knows that stable coins need utility. So right now, if you're in Frax ETH, this creates trading pairs with almost any form of wrapped ETH you might ever desire to move your coin into, which provides a ton of utility for Frax ETH.
Speaking of ETH gas, have you guys noticed how high it's been over the past 2 days?
Oof, it's been terrible.
Terrible. We can thank the meme coin revolution, as Pepe and Wojak and a handful of other meme-tastic coins have been launched in the past week and are now rocketing up the charts, with some users turning $250 into over $1 million in just 3 days. That is the appeal of crypto, my friends. So yeah, right now, gas fees. Yes,
like this is where people lose all their money. Like anyone listening to this, like, be real fucking careful, real careful. But
this is where I lose all my money doing like just basic gas stuff on Ethereum. You know, paying.
Listen, I joined this industry in 2021. Like high gas fees for me are like 200. If it's below that, I'm happy.
I know. We have Arbitrum now. We have other L2s as well too, where you can hide away from these gas fees. Other news concerning Curve and Convex. Reserve Protocol announces the launch of Convex Finance collateral plugins. Garrett, can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So the Reserve Protocol, I feel like, flies a bit under the radar compared to what they're actually doing. They have this entire like platform to build circular economies around and launch your own stablecoin. And they've seen a lot of traction, particularly in Latin America, where they actually have we always hear people decrying that crypto is no real use case, but in a lot of Latin American countries where currency is not stable, they've seen a lot of traction and a lot of real world usage, like people using Reserve Protocol to pay for daily goods or like run shops. So they are continuing to expand their platform, in this case, allowing initially 4 whitelisted pools onto through Convex onto their platform. So they're putting together the building blocks for merchants and for small enterprises to actually build real world use cases for crypto. So it's one of the more exciting partnerships I've seen.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I love Reserve Protocol because like I think they're doing really cool DeFi stuff, right? And I think that what their core functionality they're building is like the ability to like easily create baskets of goods and then like tokenize that and trade that around. And I think that's like incredibly interesting, and we can talk about that. But like Garrett, to your point, like what Reserve Protocol has done is like built a real use case where the last I heard, I think it's 30,000 real people in South America. And like,
I think it's more.
I'm in Quito right now. I'm in South America. Like now that I'm here, like I get it. Why they have currency problems, and like every other store is a cash exchange because like there's so much inflation, and just like I think Reserve's doing interesting stuff on chain, and that's cool. But like why I like will go to the mat for Reserve is because they are building something that like gives crypto like real impact in the real world. And like I don't know, man, like this is like the real work we need to see, and less of like just the on-chain derivatives circle thing.
And just to shill Flywheel, there's a great interview with Thomas Mattamore from Reserve Protocol that Flywheel did, which I'm the producer of, which goes all into Reserve's recent stablecoin deployment and what it means and why it's so cool. It allows anyone to make their own branded stablecoin. It's a great episode, and we'll leave it in the show notes. I will say is that every time that I see Convex's naming conventions for their pools, it like the STK CVX 3CRV, or hold on, what's the long one here? STK CVX EUSD 3CRV -F.
It's mental illness.
It is. It is. Well, let's wrap up before we all go off the deep end.
Yeah, real quick, just it's a very memeable day, but I'll be paying a lot of attention to the llamas are doing their whitelist auctions are resuming today, so it's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out. If you're following Leviathan News, which you can do at Leviathan_news, join our Discord. We've kind of soft launched it a few weeks ago, but it's actually getting headlines in real time now with Telegram. So the only laggard of the bunch is Twitter, because we still haven't gotten approval for the bots there. So if you want to follow Leviathan News, Telegram and Discord are some of the best places.
Wonderful. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Today is 420. Hope you guys enjoyed today. We will. We're in crypto, by the way. Yeah. I'm Samuel McCullough, and I'm joined by Rex and Garrett.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Go and just pass to the left, guys. Pass to the left, and we'll see you tomorrow. Today is April 20th, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.